It was one of those evenings where silence felt heavier than usual, when shadows stretched across the town and every sound carried a weight of unease. The small suburban neighborhood had been shaken to its core after news spread that a 7-year-old girl had gone missing. Just hours earlier, she had been playing in her backyard, her laughter echoing through the fence, when she wandered away chasing the flutter of a butterfly. What seemed like an innocent game turned into a nightmare as dusk settled and she did not return. Her mother's frantic cries filled the air, neighbors poured out of their homes with flashlights, and police units organized a desperate search. Every second mattered, because the night was growing colder, and fear clawed at every parent's heart. Far from the warmth of home, in a forgotten alley surrounded by crumbling brick walls and scattered trash, a starving K9 struggled to stay on his feet. His ribs pressed sharply against his skin, his once glossy coat dulled from neglect, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Abandoned long ago, he had survived by rummaging through garbage and drinking from dirty puddles, but his strength was fading. Yet, despite his hunger, something stronger than instinct drew him toward faint whimpers carried by the wind. Dragging his weak body forward, he followed the sound until he reached a battered cardboard box tucked against the wall. Inside, shivering and terrified, was the missing little girl. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees, her small voice breaking as she whispered for her mother. The dog froze, his ears perking, his nose twitching, and in that moment, something remarkable happened. He forgot his own hunger, his pain, and his despair. He stepped closer, curling his body against the opening of the box as if declaring himself her protector. The girl startled at first, then reached her trembling hand toward his fur, finding warmth where she had none. From that second on, the starving K9 refused to leave. Every sound that echoed through the alley, the creak of loose shutters, the rustle of rats, the howl of distant dogs, was met with his growl, his frail frame shaking but his spirit unbroken. Hours dragged by, and the night deepened, but he stood guard. When the girl dozed off, resting her head against his thin fur, he lowered his body to keep her warm, his own body heat shielding her from the biting cold. Hunger gnawed at him relentlessly, but he chose vigilance over survival. He did not search for scraps of food. He did not move from his post. His loyalty, born of nothing but instinct and unspoken love, bound him to the child he had found. Somewhere in his heart, perhaps he knew she was lost like he once had been, and he vowed silently to make sure she was never left alone. By midnight, the search for the missing girl had grown frantic. Police officers scoured the streets with flashlights, dogs on leashes sniffed at the ground, and neighbors called out her name with voices cracking under the weight of desperation. Her mother clutched a photo frame, pleading silently with the universe to return her daughter safe. Just when hope began to thin, a faint bark pierced the night air. At first, the officers dismissed it as a stray, another lost soul wandering the streets. But the bark came again, louder, sharper, urgent, as if calling, not just existing. It wasn't the sound of a dog demanding food or territory. It was different. It was desperate. The search team turned toward the direction of the sound, their hearts quickening as the barks grew frantic. Down a dark alley, half hidden behind crumbling buildings, they found the source, a starving K9, ribs jutting out, body trembling, standing tall in front of a cardboard box. His voice rang out in raw determination, and when flashlights swept the ground, gasps filled the air. Inside the box, eyes wide and tears streaming, was the missing girl. She sat up weakly, whispering for her mother, while the dog snarled softly at the officers, not in aggression, but in protection. His stance was clear: no one touches her unless he believes she is safe. The officers knelt, lowering their voices, assuring the K9 that they meant no harm. Step by step, they reached into the box, and when the girl was finally lifted into safe arms, the dog let out a final bark and collapsed to the ground. Not from fear, not from pain, but from sheer relief. His job was done. The officers rushed both the girl and the K9 to safety. At the hospital, doctors wrapped the girl in blankets, whispering about the miracle of her survival in the cold night. But the miracle was not complete without the dog. He too was taken in, treated, fed, and given care he had long been denied. Days later, the most unbelievable twist came: the little girl's family chose to adopt him. The same dog who had once been abandoned now had a warm home, meals every day, and a family who adored him. The bond between him and the girl became unbreakable. Wherever she went, he followed. When she laughed, he wagged his tail. When she slept, he curled at her side, never again allowing her to feel the fear of being alone. The neighborhood hailed him as a hero, the police called him an honorary guardian, but to the little girl, he was simply her angel in fur. His story became a testament that even the most broken and starving souls could carry the greatest strength, the strength to protect, to love, and to sacrifice without hesitation. From that night on, whenever people spoke of loyalty, they remembered the starving K-9 who guarded a little girl in a box and chose her life over his hunger.